do, got to do with it. Well, we're going to find out today as I interview my guest, Cari Lynn Webb. No relation for those who know me from a long time ago. Webb is actually my maiden name, but Cari and I are not related. So it's not like any nepotism going on here. Cari, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you today. I'm excited to talk about, books, how you got started, writing your books. We have one of the books in particular that we're going to be talking about today is called A Second Chance for Love. And, I myself been married twice. So I had a second chance for love. I had many boyfriends in between. But hey, that's okay. But it was, it's that love. Like, what is love? What is it all about? How did you get into writing romance novels? And I'll share with you just briefly. I had a friend named Kathy in school. I met her probably about 8th grade, and she was an avid reader, and I was not at all. Like I only read because I had to for school. It was like forced reading, right? And so Kathy would come to school with her Harlequin romance books. And she would say things that were just like way beyond what I can even imagine what she was talking about. She spoke a different language,
Mm-hmm.
And there was a phrase that she used that I remember it to this day because it was like, what the heck? She would say, I'm famished. and she would say it just like that. I'm famished. I'm like, what does that mean? It means I'm hungry. And I'm
starving. She must have read historical because they would have put famished in the historicals. Yeah, it's one of my favorite genres. Yeah.
It's so funny, but she loved those Harlequin books. She would carry them around all the time, reading those books. And she was very well read, and she was just so brilliant. And I used to, I would admire her, but I didn't want to be that, So it's kind of like that catch-22. A lot of times there's people out there that we look up to, but we don't want to do the work to get there. Mm-hmm. And that was Kathy was that for me, So anyway, welcome to the show. This is Women Action Takers. I love interviewing women who are doing something to make a positive impact on the planet. And your books contributes to that. So first of all, share with us, how did you get into writing in the first place? And then in particular, writing romance novels?
Let's see. Well, I was a long-time romance reader and years and years of romance reader. I picked up my first romance when I was younger. We were on an airplane and I read it and said, this is the genre I like. This is all I want to read. So I read a lot of romances, and we moved to Hawaii where I got married. And this is before Amazon and Kindles and all of that. And you had to go to a bookstore to get your books. And I was in one of the bookstores. It was Walden Books, actually. And there were not any, I'd literally read the bookshelf of romance, and there wasn't anything on there that I was looking for. I'd already read what I wanted. The latest ones weren't out yet. So I went home and wrote one and showed it to my husband and said, should I take up a different kind of hobby? And he said, keep going. And that's what started writing romance. And that's got me here.
That's awesome.
Supportive husband.
Yeah, I was going to say a supportive husband. That is fantastic because, not everybody has that.
And no.
Yeah. So when he said that, did you have any feelings of any trepidation of, doubts in yourself or doubts about it? I want to hear about that.
Oh, absolutely. I wrote it and then I showed it to my husband. And then I told my parents about it. It was sort of like a big secret, and then everyone was like, oh no, this is good, but you don't know. And there's a ton of doubt that comes, I think, with any artistic endeavor ever, and there's a lot of times I think, I've said it over the years, I'm really blessed to have some really phenomenal writing friends. And then my family who, when I have doubted myself, they have believed for me. You can do this, you can keep going. They have all sort of boosted me up because there are times where, the rejections are rolling in and you're kind of going, what am I thinking? But all along, my husband, even before I was submitting stuff to get it published, he was like, let's go, let's get this published. Let's he's very tech savvy. So even when the indie side was rolling around, he's like, let's go this way. Let's do something with what you're creating. But I was the one who was holding back. So I was like, oh, I just don't know. I'm not sure. You have a lot of doubt about it. And then you start putting it out there. And you have to take the good and the bad, and you just keep pushing through, and you get to a point where I think every book, even I'm in one right now where there's a point in every single book where I get to and I think, well, I can't write. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And I'm almost 20 books. I'm actually close to 20 books in. And I'm like, I'm just faking it, and I don't know what that is. I would imagine maybe other artists have that too, where I got a really nice email from a reviewer reader just on Friday she had no idea. It was just a huge boost because I was in one of those confidence sort of things. And she was like, I read your book in a day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, just made my day. And then I went back to the computer and was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can get this one done this time.
And, I think there's so many different layers here that we can talk about because, just like you said, you're 20 books into it. You are successfully, you're getting your work out there. You're with publishing houses.
Yes.
Are you doing indie also?
Yes.
Or, okay. So you're there with some publishing houses. You're also doing indie and you're having success and you're still experiencing doubt and you're not really sure where that doubt is coming from. Right. So what's your thought about, tapping into that to figure out, like, where is the doubt coming from? Do you think that if you were to figure that out, that you would no longer have any doubts?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you would know the source of it, but I think that that's all part of the process. I think some of that is part of making you better at whatever it is you're doing, right? So if you are in an uncomfortable space, they often say, right, push into it, push into the pain, push through it, makes you stronger to get to the other side, that kind of thing. So I think you're still going to have the doubt no matter what, even when it just sort of sits there. You may know the source of it. I think anything you're creating, the books are so personal, right? They're stories, and you just invest so much of yourself into them. I think there just is doubt for that, right? That someone else is going to get it or understand it or even just like it, and I write. I was just talking to a good writer friend the other night about what our motivation is and why we do this and that kind of thing. And I just write in hopes that somebody can pick up my book and escape for a little while and just come out after they read it and feel a little bit better, or maybe they feel a little bit more hope, or maybe they're in a rough situation and they just need a minute to take a breath, and they can sort of breathe. And that's what I write for, those kinds of moments for people. So I hope that if I've done that for one person, I think then it's successful, right? And so in terms of the doubt piece, I think I just have sort of embraced it and then know that I'm in that role right now, like the book I'm working on right now. I'm in that sort of doubt, and I need to get through to the other side, and I'll be better for it.
And that's a great point there, because it's maybe it's part of the process, right? Maybe having doubt is actually part of the process that we need to go through to know that we're experiencing growth. And it's that when I keep going, the doubt will dissipate because I'll put it out there. Now, when I put it out there, I might have doubts that show up again,
Sure.
But at least I pushed through that first one. Now I've got more doubts. Okay, now it starts selling. Okay, now I have more doubts. Is anybody going to care? And then a lady reaches out to you and says, oh my God, I read your book in a day. And then you're like, okay, that's who I wrote the book for.
That one person, right? And it just sort of, and when you like, for me personally, when I will hit the end on this book, it's incredibly satisfying, right? I finished it, like this finished product that I did, even before you take into account anyone else is going to say about it, you did it, and there's a sense of accomplishment there, I think. And so you have to, I think each journey is like that, right? There's steps each way of the process. And I'm learning the process isn't the same for every book. It's a little bit different, and you just have to sort of embrace it and roll with it. And know the best advice I've been given, and I try to tell other aspiring writers and people, your process is yours. You can't mimic everyone else's. You have to get in your lane and stay in it. And maybe over here they're going faster and doing things differently, but that may not be your process. So it may not be for you, and that's okay. Like, it's an individual journey,
Yeah. And I love how you said, get in your lane and stay in it, because I'm in a book series. It's called 13 Steps to Riches. And what we're doing is we're taking Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. We're taking one chapter at a time and turning that chapter into a book with
Oh, wow.
different
Okay.
contributors. So it's
Yes.
kind of cool. And the chapter we're on right now is one where I put, one of the things I'm going to cover in that is to find your lane and stay in it.
Right.
Because that's so important to success. And so whether it's writing a book or, running a business or, trying to find a different job, whatever it is, when we find our zone of genius, our lane, and we stay in it, that's how we have success. And then we invite other people who have their zone of genius to tap in to help us to make the success that we're looking for. So I love how you said that, because I just wrote that this morning. I was going through the book and I'm like, this is one of the topics I'm going to talk about is, finding your lane and staying.
And don't you think that's hard to do? Because I think that's really extremely difficult to do because there's so much noise.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much, and there's so many people coming at you all the time. Like, you should do this. You should do that. Have you tried this? You think, and then you look at somebody over there and you're like, I have to do that. Cause look at them. Like I have to do it that way. And then you try to do it that way and you fail spectacularly. And you're like, well, and then you look over here. It's really hard to zone in.
And it's interesting is that me, when I started my business, which was almost 7 years ago now, I, first I was in corporate for 36 years. I had 49 jobs in those 36 years. So when I finally left corporate, I was like an uncaged animal. And I was like, I got to do that. And I'm just exactly what you're talking about. And I came out of the gate with 7 business ideas. And nobody could tell me I couldn't do them, because after being caged up for so long, I was ready to release those. Eventually I honed in on the one thing. So now I'm doing the one thing. But just like you said, it is hard to do. Yes, it's hard to do, but it is possible. And that's where the results are going to come. And I like to tell people too, that just because you're going to focus on the one thing doesn't mean you can't do the other things.
Right.
What I recommend, to people is to focus on the one thing, talk about the one thing. If you're doing other things, just don't talk about them in public. So you get to be known for that. I say, if you don't stand for something, then you're known for nothing. Right. And so what do you want to be known for? The person who has so many different ideas and can't get themselves straight, or do you want to be the person who's known for as the go-to for that particular thing?
You can actually execute. That's one of my husband's favorite, people can execute. A lot of people come up with great ideas, but it's the execution where it's just like,
we're not short on ideas. I did a study, and I can't remember the number right now, but it's something like 18,000 ideas a day,
Yes. Yeah.
We're not short on ideas, right? But we're short on the implementation, the execution, like he said. And I love that. And, so I want to talk a little bit about your co-pilot. We got Bailey in the background there. And so tell us a little bit about Bailey. How does Bailey keep you on track, Mom?
Oh, that's why she is now. She's 10, so we've had her for a while, but she's my go-to. She sits there. She's actually in that chair pretty much. As long as I'm in this chair, she's in that chair. And then her biggest claim to fame is that she helps me plot. When I'm stuck, we go for a walk. I said the magic word. I'm not sure if she'll wake up. We already went this morning, but if I'm stuck, one of my favorite things to do is to take her and just go for a long walk and just think. Sometimes I talk to her. She put her ears up sometimes, but she's my sort of therapy, my plotting therapist.
I love that. And, it's like you mentioned earlier too, right? You found something that works for you.
Yeah.
And so do that. And so if you're thinking about writing a book and you're out there and you're not really sure, where to start, or you're stuck in a place, find something that works for you. If you have a Bailey, take Bailey for a walk and see if that works. Sorry, Bailey, I said the magic word. But you do just find, try this, try that, and just keep trying different things until you find what works for you. And me, it's a matter of I just need to take a nap sometimes. And sometimes
Isn't that funny?
I'll wake up, because our brain is operating 24/7, whether we're asleep or not. So sometimes I'll wake up refreshed and with some new great ways to move. So that's awesome. So I'd like to talk about because you started writing books before Amazon was a thing, right? And we're doing this indie publishing, and you had to go and find somebody to like your work enough to publish it. So take us through that process.
I was extremely lucky. So I belong to a writers group, and Melinda Curtis and Anna Stewart, who are some of my best friends, also critique partners. Early on, we started as critique partners, and we started out as we had a group. It was more like fun. It was more social. And then all of a sudden, we looked at each other a couple years in, and we were like, we need to seriously get serious about this, And so then we started actually critiquing, where you give each other your work and your writing, because they're giving you chapters, and it kind of started getting a lot more serious. And Anna and Melinda helped me get into Harlequin. Actually, I wrote with them. It's called Make Me a Match. It's an anthology set, and I was invited in that way. And then I was able to pitch my editor for my San Francisco series, and she picked it up. So I was just extremely, just really, really lucky to have them in my world. I'm still lucky to have them with me now. That's who I write with, and Kayla Perrin for Seaglass Bay through Arc Manor. So that came about there. And then our indie stuff that we do is also Sweet Contemporary. And that is with Anna and Melinda and a lot of other heartwarming authors. And so we've kind of just parlayed and got really serious and got very, and it has resulted in some books getting out there. But, we talk about it all the time, because as you want to try to grow your brand or expand out and that kind of stuff, there's just a lot of rejection still, even when you think, you look at somebody, you go, oh my gosh, they're, doing what they want to do. There's just, this business is just interesting and fun. And there's a lot of ways to get published now. So you just have to figure out what works for you and what you're comfortable with, and try it. That's my thing. Just try. I have 2 girls, and I told my husband along the way, I had talked to a very good mentor of mine, and she was like, wasn't sure if I was going to keep on going with writing or stop. And she was like, if you stop, then you have taught your 2 daughters that it's okay to give up on their dreams. And I was like, well, that's just a mean thing to say. Like, I was like, that's not nice. Like, like, that's not what I'm telling them. And she's like, yeah, that's, just laid it out. And I was like, well, that's just, well, now I can't stop, and she was right. And so I would tell anybody who's wanting to get into writing, just do it, try it and do it, and write what you're passionate about and put it out there.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great advice, because, it's a matter of pushing yourself out there to get the results that you want to get. And oftentimes people will say, I want this, or I dream about this, or I wish this, and I'm going to pray on it. I'm going to manifest it. And I like to say, no matter how much you pray, manifest, dream, desire, want, all these different things in life, when it's staring you right in the face, if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. You have to take action. And that's what Women Action Takers is all about. It's all about the execution, taking action. I can take notes all day long, but if I don't take action, nothing's going to happen.
That's right. I could have and that's my thing. I can have a ton of book ideas, but if you don't, and I've met a lot of people who've told me, oh, I've always thought about writing a book. I'm like, well, then you should do it. The one thing I always try to tell people too is don't stop learning. I think that learning your craft is so important, whatever it is, because there is something every time you think, especially for myself personally, every time I think I've got a handle on something, like, okay, man, I have nailed dialogue. I've got it down. You realize you don't, and so to keep on learning, because the craft of writing is every book you're going to learn something new about your own, you just get better. And so if you, don't feel strong enough as a writer, then there's so many classes out there. So go take them, and then you'll start gaining confidence, and then can roll with it, so that's part of that, right? That's part of that taking action, like, learning.
Yeah. You're not going to get better by thinking about it.
Yeah.
You got to apply, like applied knowledge. I think that's the specialized knowledge is the name of the chapter we're working on right now in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which is an incredible, it's known as the Entrepreneur's Bible. And it's over 100 years older. It's like right around 100 years old, and it still stands true today, which is incredible. Yeah. So this is really awesome. I love, so I want to hear from your perspective, because you do have publishing houses and you're doing indie author. So tell us, like, what's your perspective of the indie author today? Because now anybody can publish a book,
right?
So what's your thought on that?
And good for them. I think they should do it, right? The indie world, I lift my hat off to the indie authors. They are fantastic. The ones in the romance world and outside of it, what they take on, because as an indie author, you take it all on, right? So you are the editor, the writer, you're doing your book marketing, you're designing your cover, you're doing back cover copy. You are really managing from A to Z and every letter in between of the business, and hats off to the ones they're having amazing success because they're writing really good books and they're putting out a really solid product. And I think that that's fantastic. And I think that it can be a slow grind for when you first start out on that side. But if you can stick with it, I think it can really pay off, and I think the publishing houses are doing what they're doing too. It's different, right? They're two different sort of entities and different, but I think all authors right now have to take their own marketing and build their own brand on their own. I think whichever side you decide to be on, you have to just take a lot of ownership these days and know who you are, know what you want your brand to be, and build on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point there. Thanks for that perspective on that. But the great point there is, you are the start to finish, right? And you also have to do the marketing. I think a lot of people think, I'm going to write a book and a lot of people are going to buy it. But there's a little bit of marketing that is involved in that.
Right. There is getting your name out there. You no longer can you just sit right behind the screen and just write and put stuff out there. People have to know about it. And there's, like we were talking about earlier, there's so much noise. You have to cut through the noise to get people to know about your product, whatever that product is, book or whatever it is. If you're trying to sell it, you have got to get through that and market yourself and put yourself out there. And I think that the really successful ones know how to do it. They're just genius about it. And I watch some of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I learn to be like that? Because they're just amazing, and they just build huge followings. And that's what you need to do. And they have the personalities to, a lot of time writers, right? We do like to be by ourselves. We do like our offices where it's just us and the page, and I think that now you have to translate that over a little bit to bring people into your world so that they want to read your stories and buy your books.
Right. Unless you're somebody, like J.K. Rowling, who comes along and she had to put it out there and get it going. But then once it got going, it just had its own, built its own momentum.
Sure.
But those are few and far between. I mean, that does not happen for everybody. And so it's definitely an interesting journey. So what do you see in the next maybe like 5 years? I know you have 2 titles coming up. You want to talk a little bit about those?
I have, let's see, right now what I have out, I have this, they just happen to be sitting right here because I have the Texas Seal Surprise. This one's actually out. And then I just got my advance copies of my November release, which is Trusting the Rancher with Christmas. So it's always fun to get your box of books. They arrive and you're like, it's funny because you write these a while back before you actually see the covers and the titles and things. And so it's like, oh my goodness. And now you put that up there and I'm like, I need to update my website. Thanks for that. I got to put the new covers it's all that stuff, right? That you do yourself that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get on it. I was proud of myself for making those images. Now I need to go actually fancy it up. So hopefully I will be writing more with Heartwarming and Arc Manor. We're doing another Sea Glass Bay anthology. So that will follow the Second Chance in Love one. So hopefully you'll get to revisit some of those characters and have a whole bunch of new characters. We have a new Christmas Town anthology that's coming. I think it releases next month, actually. So that will be a lot of fun. I'm just hoping to just continue what I'm doing. I'm looking, just keep writing romance, really. Contemporary romance is the plan for the next 5 years.
Yeah, keep doing it. You like you said, you love doing it. So just keep doing that and sharing those stories. And it's so awesome when you find your lane right? And then you stay in that lane because you're doing what you absolutely love doing. And I hope I'm going to keep doing this, well, that's awesome because you're doing what you love to do. For me, it took decades for me to find that place. And, but that doesn't mean it's too late. I was 51 when I left corporate. See, there's Mason. He decided to show up. 51 when I left corporate, but then 58 when I finally, or 57 when I finally figured it out.
Right. And I don't think it's ever too late. Do you? I don't think that you should ever think that, well, that's it, and just accept that that's all it's going to be. I mean, like, I think at any age you should be doing something you love. I understand that the day job may have to be something that maybe isn't that passion because there are bills to pay, and that's all very, very real. Right. But I think that there can be a space in everyone's life for the thing that they really are passionate about.
Yes, definitely. I personally believe that, we all have a purpose, and some people figure it out young. Some people figure it out older like me, and some people never figure it out. And so, I remember one day I was driving to work, that 49th job. Sure. And I was like, gosh, what's the purpose of this planet? Sure. What's my purpose on this planet? And just by asking myself that question, that's when things started to unfold, and I started figuring that out. And so it's so beautiful when you finally get to that place. But I think you need to start asking the question if you want to figure it out.
If you're not happy, right? Because I think some people they're good. They're good.
Right. Right. What's the word? They're content.
Yes.
Right. They're content with it. Well, I wasn't, and so that's when I started asking that question. Like you said, if you're unhappy, especially, that's when you start asking that question. Not like why me, but what am I here to do?
Yeah. What can I do? Right. What can I change? Yeah. And then, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I love it. We've great conversation. Yeah. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And I'm so happy for you, following that passion, having a supportive husband, having a supportive family. This is something that not everybody has. Yes. And so, just like, your appreciation for that is commendable and fantastic. I love that. So you guys, you can find her at Cari. It's CARI. CariLynnWebb.com. So CariLynnWebb. Did you ever get called Spider-Man's wife when you were young?
No.
I was. Okay.
Did you?
Yes. Or Spider-Man's girlfriend, Webb, the name Webb. Yeah. Like there's,
I probably didn't. I probably did because I had 3 older brothers. So they probably were like,
yeah.
I was the little one.
Yeah, leave her alone. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I was called Spider-Man's wife. We got called all kinds of names, but
oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But it's all good. I survived through it, and now I'm doing today what I'm doing.
Yes.
So go find her at CariLynnWebb.com. Go check out her books. She has 20 books so far. She's going to keep on going. So follow her. She's on all the socials, and you'll go to her website and check it out and see which books might interest you. Maybe you get a bundle, buy 4 or 5 of them, and share them with friends. Do a book share where each of you reads one of the books, and then you share it with the others. And
love those.
There's so many different ways to do this, and you'll go out there and just read these books. And they're positive, motivational, uplifting content. That's going to just put you into a different mindset. Even if it's just temporary, it all helps. So, Cari, thank you so much. You have any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
No, today? Just thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great. Yeah, had a blast. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And we're going to go out with this, if I do it right.